Episode 25 of the Business Not As Usual podcast. Mike, 25, my man.
25. I can't even believe it. When
Yeah.
we brought the show, when we came back together to do this show, I can't believe we're now at 25 episodes.
Yeah.
Which goes to show, I know we've planned to do it once a week and we've tried, but we just keep plugging away and look, we're at 25. It's amazing to me that we've banged out 25 of these babies.
It is, right? Because I mean, this is not our job, but we
do it for fun.
We do it for fun, and it has been the highlight, one of the highlights of the last. When did we start this again? December, January.
I thought it was January.
Whatever, 7 months. This is
Wow, now you put it like that. 7 months.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Only 25 episodes. We're slacking.
Still got a good library going.
It's not bad. And I think we've talked about a number of different topics, and we've gone from the strategic to the tactical, a little bit of academic, but I think always practical. And I think we're going to take a step back from that in this episode and do a little bit of reflection, the old lessons learned, as it were.
This is in a movie. This would be the montage as the person is getting back into shape. Montage.
Yeah, exactly. So let's. Every time I think of that, I think of the movie Team America: World Police, where and I don't know if you've seen it, but there is a song called Montage, where the protagonist is going along to a montage, an 80s montage of improving his assassin skills.
Right.
To just what you need is there's a line in the song, what you need is a montage. So let's talk through, or let's revisit some of our favorite moments, some of the I don't know that we're going to get into the specifics of transformation per se, but I'm sure we'll touch on it. But I mean, what was one highlight of the previous 24 episodes, Mike?
One highlight, I think, for me was the storytelling episode.
Oh, yeah. You beat me to it.
Oh, but well, I'm sure you like that one too. But there was a particular moment in there, and we talked about a big range of topics. But one of my favorite moments was you were talking about being the pain in the ass or the disruptor, and sometimes that puts you in a bad position.
Mm-hmm.
And the response you got was interesting, and I thought it was, and I think you've taken it to heart. It was, you can be that person, but if you do it in a certain way where you get people on your side and you tell that story, instead of being kind of disruptor that's a pain in the ass, you can still be that disruptor if you take it from another angle and get everyone on side. You can still get to where you want to be without being that, as you were say, pain in the ass. So I thought that was really good advice, sage advice for you, which I've seen you take. And I think you've got a lot of traction on a lot of things because of that advice. So I always think of that was a good moment where we learned a lot being the interviewers. So that was a favorite moment of mine, actually.
Yeah, and from the same episode, and that for those that are following along, we're talking about episode, I believe it was number 9. I'm just going to go back in the old register here. Yes, episode 9 with the amazing Laurie Silverman.
Yes.
Excellent. Who is one of my favorite people when I'm, we Lori and I cross paths a lot at different events. We speak on the same. We're actually starting to speak on the same topics, which is scary to me because I look at, I've been talking a lot about enterprise analysis and strategic business analysis, and she's doing that too. And I think, oh, maybe I should just shut up and let Lori do it because she will trounce me in that arena. But I still have something to say, so I'm still going to. But for me, I mean, that was a big one because she was 100% right. Like that moment you mentioned, like 100% accurate. And you're right. It has been one of those things that I've tried to execute on. But one of my favorite moment comes from that same episode, and it actually was all the stuff that happened before we hit record, because and that was a supersized. We went for over an hour in that episode, and Lori and you and Lori had never met, and I was going to have a
a big introduction,
a little introduction, and just, hey, this is Mike, this is Lori, and Lori is so, like, she just went into the topic and we just started talking, and then it evolved, and then you and I are just exchanging text messages like, are you recording this? No, not yet. Why not? Idiot, why aren't you recording this? Because this is good. And so, like, the episode just sort of started because
I'm like, are you gonna introduce her? Are you gonna introduce her?
Yeah, well, I did after, and then as part of the episode, I ended up recording like a little minute, intro to say, okay, this one is just gonna seem like it's starting mid conversation, and here's why. And it's because she just started dropping like these value add bombs right away. And it was like the stuff that we got in the episode was amazing. The stuff that we missed was also amazing. Yes. And it's like, well, I wish I could go back and hit record earlier, but it was amazing that she was just on from Jump Street. And the stuff that we talked about there, and the use of story, and how you can use that to build consensus, to get alignment, to drive change in a way that doesn't feel like you're being disrupted, doesn't feel like, oh, this guy's just complaining again, was incredibly valuable. And if you're listening to this episode and you didn't catch that one, go back to episode 9 with Lori Silverman, because that was that was an amazing episode. So that, samesies. But I mean, we'll do like fantasy draft snaking here. So I'll go with the next one. One episode I really liked, and you can catch it on the video. You can't catch it in the audio because I edited it out. But when we talked about the different roles that you need, which became a 2-parter, the roles that you need in a transformation, at the end of the first episode, so it was my list, and then I was ready to go with your list, and then we had to stop.
Right.
And so, like, it's like, oh man, I gotta wait a week to talk about this now. But like, that to me was another one of those great episodes, because it shows the need for different personalities on your team to do different things. And you need, someone who's a strong leader. You need that disruptor. You need a rebel. And rebel was the one role that we both had, because we made our lists separately.
Yeah.
Right. And so, part of I think what the challenge with transformations and just business in general is that we take some of those roles that maybe we see as dissenting, and we minimize their voice. We don't listen to them, almost, getting into the zone of confirmation bias. I just want people on my team that are going to tell me what I want to hear. And you're going to have a difficult time transforming when you do that, because you're trying to do something you've never done before. And when you do that, you're going to need that that devil's advocate. So that two episode arc, the roles you need was it's
like we have writers.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody would know that we literally come up with what do you want to talk about? Like before
nobody
the
would
episode.
ever know.
But and I think that actually speaks to the fact that we do kind of know what we're doing. Like we're not making copious notes in our discussion. We just start talking because we know the subject matter.
Yeah. So yeah, we don't spend. I was having a conversation with this about with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
We don't spend all week poring over white papers to then talk about stuff. So everything we talk about is stuff we've actually done or we've actually thought about in the real world. Not we heard it from another podcast and we did a bunch of research and then finally scripted out the podcast. So you may not agree with us, but we've actually done the things that we've talked about, and we tell you when they don't work and we tell you when they do work. And so these are real life experiences as opposed to us just doing some research and going, this is how you would do this, or these are the 5 roles. We came up with those roles because we've been over and over and over and over it again, and then realize, oh, that's what I need on my team, or that's what, oh man, if we just had that person, it would have been way better in this project. So I know we always joke about, we glibly go off the top of our head, but it's our research is the work that
experience. It's experience, right?
Yes.
Whoa.
So yes, there was a fly. It freaked me out. So we do research. It's not we spend hours and hours poring over white papers so we can, produce this podcast for you.
Right. And it's not that we don't put in the effort. We do love, like, to me, again, this is one of the things that I look forward to doing each week. But, there's still work. Like that, that work still has to happen. And that's the proving ground.
Yes.
Right. That's where you can.
Everything we've talked about has been proven out.
Yes.
Either it worked or it didn't. And and we do tell you when it doesn't work. I think we laugh about it a lot, but you can, we did this. Whew, that was bad. Don't do that.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, again, like, not to keep coming back to that episode, but that was what I shared with Lori, right? Like, I want to just kick in the door and make people, are you stupid? You can't see the need for change. And, and that's right. Really where that moment came from, right? Well, hey, if you try it this way, because that way didn't work for me.
Right.
But, hey, I tried.
And that's all you have to do is try. That's part of learning.
You got it, man. So what else? What it's the snaking, so it's you again.
I will take because it's now coming up over and over and over again. We go back all the way to, I think we're ahead of our time, Vince. Go back to episode 14.
Oh.
Dealing with distributed teams with our friend Skydra.
With Skydra.
It is now becoming like the topic of getting back to work. And what I mean by that is not that COVID was easy, but it was consistent. People were not allowed in. So people who worked in offices and not like on the front line, we all just went home and then started using tools, whatever, pick your tool, Teams, Zoom, Google, Meets, whatever. And it was consistent. I need to meet Vince. I'm going to do a Teams meeting. I'm going to meet Vince. I'm going to do a Zoom meeting. Like, I'm going to meet Skydra and I'm going to do it on WebEx. But what we talked about there and what's now becoming what everyone's talking about is, okay, so when we go back to the office, and if everybody remembered that, when you were the sucker that was at home, when the meeting started and you're like, hello? Is anybody on the conference line?
Can you open
Hello?
up the conference line, please? Yeah.
Oh, here, let me get my. Can you open? Is anybody? Can you open the conference line? Can you? And then and then it's like 15 minutes later. Oh, sorry. Hey, we forgot about you.
Mm-hmm.
So we already had these conversations. Hope you're okay with those decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're gonna get the true impact of distributed teams, right? Like,
Yeah.
coming up in September here in Ontario, kids are going, like, everyone's starting to go back, and but not all at once. So we're not all in the office, or we're not all at home. And so now what we talked about in that episode way back when is, how are you now blending
Mm-hmm.
like the offline world and the virtual world, like, and the digital world, when you're having meetings, when there's a bunch of people in a meeting room and a bunch of people at home or wherever. And so, again, that was a good episode to talk about, but it's also, if you go back to that, we talked about a lot of the things that are now becoming reality and what people need to work out and figure out.
All the way back in May was when we had the
May, like, feels like 2 years ago.
It does feel like 2 years ago, but the early days of the pandemic, right? Like, we were in a very different place in May. We were still adjusting to this world. And so, I mean, I don't want to go out and say we were ahead of our time, but we saw the future, and we were living there. And
I think we saw it coming. We saw that, like, September and October was coming, and and Skydra is a person that had worked like that already. So shout out to her and her company. But I think that was a memorable episode. That was also, man, when we have guests, we just go on and on and on. We talked a long time that night.
Yeah.
So
we've covered a bunch of topics. Just, it's actually amazing. I mean, we record, we edit, and then we post, and it's not that that's it, but I don't think I know we don't do a very good job of promoting our podcast, which is we're not marketers, and we probably should be better at that. But it's now just looking, when you see it together, like, we've covered a lot of ground. Even back to an earlier episode where we brought on my friend Rhonda Scarf, and we talked about AI, and that was a fascinating,
way back in March.
Yeah, that was a fascinating episode, and actually had a spin-off, because it's like, well, we had her talk about that, but, like, we still want to talk about this, and that episode, I admittedly had a hard time initially wrapping my head around. I had read her book at that point, Alexa's Stealing Your Job, and I'm aware of AI. I am cognizant of it, but I didn't see some of the impacts, the broader impacts to work. And I'm coming at this specifically from, like, a robotic process automation standpoint. My, the Six Sigma background, very process improvement oriented. I don't want robots doing that. I don't want, and after that episode is where I actually enrolled in a program to learn robotic process automation, because, like, I can be so much more effective if I can learn this skill, and be much more, marketable and sought after. But it sort of opened my eyes to, not only is this coming, it's here, and if you don't figure out how to blend it with your own, teaching and learning and work, then someone else will, and you will be at their mercy.
I like, in that episode, we talked about this a lot, because there's always the easy sell. Just buy this this AI platform is going to change everything. Here's the AI platform for you. And what we talked about on that episode was all the human work you have to do training the AI.
Mhm.
You can't
Mhm.
just buy this thing, plop it, away you go, off goes your chat bot or whatever, right?
Right.
There is a lot of human intelligence from your company, your business knowledge that goes into making AI great. And
Right.
so I think that's a part that, as usual, everybody's looking for this magic, just like working out, everybody's looking for this magic pill that you're not going to get. And so there's a lot of work that you need to do for the AI to finally be useful for your company, as opposed to just buying it, slapping it in with the rest of your technology, and you're done.
Right.
So
Which
that's
is
what I liked
interesting,
about
right?
that conversation.
Which was interesting because that was, that was how Rhonda got her start, right? The old
Yeah.
help me Rhonda, because she was working
Yes.
in an administrative capacity supporting executives and was the go-to for, computer issues, technical issues.
Mm-hmm.
And so, was able to spin that off into a very successful, I mean, she is a Hall of Fame speaker. And trainer, like, just just because she was willing to take that leap of embracing a new technology, not resisting it, and then figuring out how to leverage that to blend the human and the automated, and create a an amazing niche for herself, which that's what more can you say?
Mm-hmm.
you know um I again, just looking back at this list, there was a note back in episode 3. I can't believe it's taken us 3 episodes to get to culture, because we
Yes.
spent episode 1 sort of talking about what a transformation is.
Mm-hmm.
We spent episode 2 talking about how to plan it. But episode 3, to me, was the TSN turning point in the show, because and I know that this is something we both agree on. Culture is the key. Like,
Yes, and it's come up
culture is the key.
from episode 3. It's come up in multiple episodes, and we've gone on multiple tangents about culture and about not only do you need culture to transform, that culture is part of the transformation. So
Yes.
it's and all the work you need to do before you even start a transformation to be ready to do that work, I think. And it was the turning point, because we have talked about culture and the type of culture you need to successfully pull off a transformation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's then spun off. Like, I've now started speaking more on the need for culture. You and I don't know if we've actually said this out loud, but you and I have a joint conference session that we are doing at some very major project and business analysis conferences on the missing pieces of your transformational puzzle, which are people and process. Spoiler alert, if you're going to be at BBC or Project World on Toronto. But it's people and process. Yeah, you heard it first. It's people and process, which is culture. Like, it's derived from and is impacted by the culture of the organization. But those are the pieces that matter. The technology is the enabler.
Yes. I don't know how many times we had to say that line.
Yeah.
Technology, the enabler. Once you get the business part down, then you can start worrying about the technology.
Right. Right.
But when we talk about culture, I mean, we've said it over and over about, decision-making being pushed down, getting rid of that hierarchy, not being worried to ship and fail. Like, all these things are the missing pieces that we started in episode 3, but we continue to talk about
because it's the point.
The previous episode.
Yeah.
Right? It is the point. That is the transformation.
You can't just buy a thing and then say, installed,
Right.
We transformed everyone.
Right.
Like you put in a new, legacy system, or you put in a new like application. Cool. We built a chat bot. We transformed.
Right.
Nope. No,
And
you didn't.
And I can't, what episode? I mean, and we talked a lot about that in episode, I can't remember the episode number, but it was when we talked about transformation in small business.
Mm-hmm.
That, it really became apparent there, because small business just can't spend money on technology.
No.
So they need to change the way they do business and then get the technology that fits what they're trying to do.
Right.
Which is episode 20.
Yeah.
But again, for a small business, their people and process need to change, which many of them have done successfully during COVID, before they go get something that enables that change. But
Right.
They need to change their business. And that starts from a culture about what we just talked about, circling around the customer. What does outside in approach, being able to iterate, being able to, again, drive decision making that doesn't always have to go up and down the hierarchy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's where you shared the amazing Sanremo story.
Correct.
Which had nothing to do with technology, but transformed their business because they had to.
And they continue to. They have a culture of continuously changing things up as. Mm-hmm. They have the agility to go, here's where we are. We're going to do something different. We're going to do something different. They haven't, again, transformation is not one thing and then you're mm-hmm. done. It's like you get somewhere, then you have to keep iterating on that. So,
right.
Yes, culture, huge. And I think we're going to continue to talk about it as we, roll out, as we start rolling into the new world of being on and offline. Like the on and offline interaction is just going to be more important now, because we're not mm-hmm. all one thing anymore.
Mm-hmm. It's for the next 25 episodes.
It will be. Yeah. It'll continue to be.
Dude, it's been a great run. I think now of all of the people that have, so this is outside of the episodes, all of the people that have reached out to me because of the show, which has been almost surreal. The first moment that we had that really sort of struck a chord was when we talked about Prince, and
just
how
threw that out of nowhere.
And it came out of nowhere.
We threw it out of nowhere. Yeah.
But somehow, like, that resonated with people, where they were like, when you guys were talking about Prince, it was so funny, but I got the point of what you were trying to say. And I think we were just talking about how you can just, shift perspectives, and then we got into talking about some of Prince's songs and how they really didn't mean what you thought they meant.
Right.
But anyways, I had a friend that I actually met in person for the first time at a conference in December, who after the fact reached out to me and said that your podcast is better than Oprah's. And I still think of that moment. So it was my friend Lindsay, who's a workplace communication expert, who we actually said after episode 5, which when we talked about communication, we should probably have Lindsay on the show. But we were talking about
Lindsay on the show.
We should still have. Well, Lindsay has her own podcast now, so there's another shark in the water.
We might have to do a crossover show.
We could do a crossover show. But she said, like, it's, obviously you and I are not as big of a name as Oprah. Shocker. But that it was more entertaining because it was more tangible. It was more real.
Right.
And then my friend Jen out in Halifax, who shared that we accompany her on her morning walk, which again, like, blows my mind. It blows my mind that one person listens to
to
this
our
stuff.
show.
But
Yes.
and
Agreed.
you know, and we had a little gap recently where we didn't make anything new for, I think, a month, 4 weeks or something. And then we put out a new episode, and I started getting messages from people saying, "Yay, new episodes." And it's
Mhm.
like, you know, like, that's, to me, that's why we do it. Like,
Yes.
it's not about, like, it's just about sharing sort of what we know and trying to make it as accessible and as
fun,
available, as fun
as possible.
because, like, I mean, I don't want to be bored. We could go the route of, you know, some of the other folks that talk about, well, now in order for us to transform, we really need to analyze
Is that
the current state.
Is that the voice they make?
I assume this is what they sound like. So we're going to review all of our current state documentation. And dude, that's boring. Like, and that's not how people talk.
No.
So I mean, the people that have reached out, it's meant a lot to me. I'm always like, I share it as soon as I can, because, like, dude, someone said we're better than Oprah. Like, it's amazing. And, you know, it's what, for me at least, it's what keeps me wanting to do this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think, like you said, I'm surprised we get one listener. So
yeah,
anybody who gets back to us and tells us, "Oh, you've been away, and I'm glad you got a new episode," that just, I think it just helps us when we get busy and may not do it. Is like, we should just do it. Like, we should just figure out how to do it. So
yeah,
I know we've talked a lot about what we've enjoyed. Maybe you can comment. What have been your favorite themes, or a particular episode that maybe you found funny or brought a lot of value that you've tried and it worked, or you tried it didn't work. But that'd be interesting. If please leave a comment, let us know. Or in the next 25, what are the topics you want us to tackle?
Oh, that's a good one. Because that's the other thing of this, right? We want to make it.
Yeah. What do you want to hear from us?
Yeah. Maybe you just want us to tell jokes for an hour.
Like, that would be bad.
That would be bad.
The listenership would, like, plummet.
Yes. But no, I think that's a good point, right? Like, what is it that you want to hear more about? You know, I know that we've started to talk more about, you know, the BA side of, and the need for business analysis. I've been trying to line up a friend who has expertise in that, and just, she's always busy. But you know, yeah, it's Mike, I'm so glad that we got back on this horse, because it's fun, and you know what, it's useful. I've said, I don't know if I've said on the show, but I hate the sound of my own voice, and even I enjoy listening to these episodes when I am editing them. Like, I will listen to the whole thing. It's so much fun. And you know, here's to the next 25, brother.
Yeah, it's been awesome, Vince. So
yep,
here's to the next 25, and please leave comments. We would love to hear them, and even for topics, that'd be awesome. So
yeah,
thanks again. Until next time.
We'll see you in episode 26. This has been the Business Not As Usual podcast. See ya.